All right, let's talk about a feeling. A feeling I'm pretty sure we've all had. It brings up a huge question about the tech we use every single day. And, it all kicks off with something super simple, almost automatic.
It's just this simple move. You open your phone, maybe you felt it buzz, maybe it was just a total impulse. The point is, you don't really have a plan.
Your intention? It's tiny. You're just going to check one little thing. A single message, maybe one notification, or that video your friend sent. It's supposed to be a surgical strike, right? In and out. Done.
But that's not what happens, is it? Nope. You do that one thing, and then your thumb, it just kind of keeps going. You start scrolling, and suddenly everything else just fades away.
And poof, just like that, a whole chunk of time is just gone. It vanished. You look up from your screen, and you're not even sure what you were just watching. But you know for a fact, 20 minutes of your life just went up in smoke.
So how on earth does that happen? I mean, you didn't decide to waste 20 minutes scrolling. It wasn't some conscious choice you made. It just happened. Well, let's pull back the curtain and see what's really going on.
Okay, so this brings us to our first big idea, the attention trap. Because that first click, it kicks off a process in your brain, not just on your screen. The second you open that app, boom, you've walked right into the trap. See, these platforms aren't just sitting there waiting for you. Oh no, they are actively fighting for the most valuable thing you have, your attention.
And this is the very first thing that happens. Your focus just narrows. It locks onto that screen. All the sounds around you, the stuff you were supposed to be doing, it all just fades into the background. It becomes just you and the feed.
And a huge reason for this is a really clever and powerful design choice, the infinite scroll. Think about it. A book has a last page. A movie has credits. Those are natural, built-in stopping points. But a social media feed, it's designed specifically to never end. And if there's no ending, there's no natural reason to ever stop.
Okay, so let's move on to the second piece of the puzzle, the reward engine. This is where things get really interesting. It's this powerful combo of unpredictable rewards and a smart algorithm. That attention trap, that's just to get you in the door. This engine is the core mechanic that keeps you hooked, and it's built on a very specific, very powerful psychological trick.
See, our brains love getting a reward, but you know what they love even more? Unpredictable rewards. It's the exact same principle as a slot machine. You pull that lever and you have no idea what you're going to get. It's that uncertainty that is so addictive. And a social media feed, it's basically a digital slot machine.
And every single time you flick your thumb, you're pulling that lever. The next thing you see could be a hilarious video, or a message from someone you know, or some shocking piece of news, or a really cool fact. Each one gives you this tiny burst of satisfaction, right? It's a little dopamine hit. And it's just enough to make you think, okay, just one more scroll.
But it gets even more sophisticated than that. Because at first, you feel like you're the one in charge, right? But behind the scenes, there's an algorithm, and it's learning. It's watching every single thing you do. It sees the videos you pause on, the posts you linger on for just a second longer, and, this is key, it sees everything you scroll right past. And it uses all that data to build a model of you, constantly tweaking the feed to get better and better at guessing what will make you stay.
And this is maybe the most important thing you need to understand about that algorithm. Its goal isn't to make you smarter, or happier, or more informed. Nope. Its one single-minded goal is to keep you on the platform for as long as possible. It is designed for one thing, and one thing only: engagement.
Okay, so that leads us right into our third part, the habit loop. This is all about how this system messes with your sense of time and actually starts to adapt your brain. So what happens when you spend hours and hours inside this reward engine? Well, this is where all those little short-term effects start to harden into real long-term changes, both in how you see things and how you act. The very first thing to go is your sense of time. When you're in that zone, that narrow focus, just scrolling through that endless river of rewards, time just kind of blurs. What felt like 5 minutes was actually 25. And that feeling of lost time, it's not a bug. It's a feature. It's a direct byproduct of the intense engagement the system is built to create. And here's the crazy part. It's a feedback loop. The more time you spend scrolling, the more data the algorithm gets on you. The more data it has, the better it gets at feeding you stuff that keeps you there. And the better it gets, well, the more time you spend. It's a cycle that just feeds itself over and over.
And eventually, your brain itself starts to change. The whole thing moves from being a conscious choice to a totally unconscious habit. You know what I mean? You find yourself reaching for your phone the second you feel even a little bit bored, or sometimes for no reason at all. It's not a decision anymore. It's just an automatic reflex, a habit that's been carved right into your brain.
And that brings us to the final and maybe most profound idea, the invisible reshaping. The main takeaway here is this: you're not just lacking discipline. You are interacting with a system. So many of us beat ourselves up over this, right? We think, ugh, I just have no self-control. But that's not the whole story. You're not just fighting your own urges. You're going up against one of the most powerful, persuasive systems ever created.
Look, social media isn't controlling you like some puppet master pulling strings. It doesn't have to. It does something way smarter, way more subtle. It just shapes the environment. It carefully builds the digital world that your brain is reacting to. And if you can change the environment, you can change the behavior without anyone even noticing.
And this is how that influence works over the long haul. It's like a chain reaction. What you see on your feed, well, that starts to shape what you think about every day. And what you think about all the time, that starts to shape what you believe. And finally, what you believe, that shapes the very way you see the entire world.
And this whole reshaping process, it doesn't happen all at once. It's not some big, sudden event. It happens quietly, little by little, day after day. It's so gradual, in fact, that you'd never even notice it's happening.
Which brings us to one last really critical thought. For all those hours and hours you've spent scrolling and liking and sharing, you probably thought you were the one calling the shots, right? That you were using the system.
But the whole time, something else, something invisible was going on. Because yeah, you were using the system, but the system, it was using your attention, your data, and your brain's own wiring to shape you. And that's something to think about the next time you reach for your phone.